Hi everybody, welcome to Pick Six. I'm Adam Brody. I'm filling in this holiday week for Rishi Sadie. I just want to start out by saying we didn't put up a show last week because Reed forgot to record audio. Awesome. This week we'll be going through a wide array of games. We will not be picking the Thanksgiving games because they are terrible. To start off with though, we'll give you Jacksonville at New York Giants. Can the Giants overcome their injuries?
Yeah, we didn't get a chance to put up the show last week, so everyone out there didn't get to see me gloat about my 6-0 record 2 weeks ago. I don't really know what to say about that, except for it's got to be the stash. But moving on to Jacksonville at the Giants. The Giants have looked really bad these past couple weeks, and the Jaguars have been the cardiac kids coming back from late deficits. But I don't think they're going to be able to do that this week against the Giants. Yes, New York is banged up. Steve Smith is hurt. The other wideout, Hakeem Nicks, just found out he's probably going to be out for about 3 weeks. But you know what? I think Eli Manning's going to bounce back and have a nice game against that really weak Jacksonville secondary. And the Giants, they're going to get a win this Thanksgiving weekend.
Well, we're through Week 10 of the NFL, and who would have guessed that Jacksonville would be tied for the top of the AFC South? Not me, that's for sure. They really need to come into this game and prove that they actually belong there, but I don't think they can get it done against the Giants. Giants are looking to bounce back after a tough loss to the Eagles, and really, if you look at their stats, they're a really good team. They're top 5 in both offense and defense. They just need to cut down all the turnovers and stupid mistakes that are bringing them down. I think against Jacksonville's pass D, which is 28th in the league, Eli Manning may finally be able to get on track, stop throwing to the other team, and hopefully be able to get the big win at home against the Jaguars.
You know, up until 30 seconds ago, I was going to pick the Jaguars, and I heard these persuasive arguments, so I switched my mind. I'm going with the Giants this week at home. The Jaguars, they have a good record, but really, what are they? We don't know much about them. They still look at their roster. They're not that talented. We don't know what David Guard is. He's inconsistent. 1 week, he's Dan Marino. The next week, he's Jamarcus Russell. I don't know what he's going to be this week. The defense still isn't very good. The Giants really need a win right now. 2 weeks ago, they were talking about the best team in the NFC. Now they're 6-4. Now they're only a game ahead of Washington. They're way behind Philly. I think this week, though, desperation time. They'll get it done. Tom Coughlin always seems to rally those troops. He's been doing it for a long time now.
Well, Semrath had some strong words to Jacksonville Jaguars there. I don't know why he was going to pick them originally. Anyways, moving on, Tennessee at Houston. What's Tennessee going to do with their quarterback situation? How will it affect this game?
Yeah, Adam, who knows what to make of that crazy AFC South. Now, it seems like it's anybody's division with the Colts going down against New England last weekend, although I still think Indy's the best team in that division. But also, who knows what to do with this Tennessee offense? They might have a guy starting for them this week named Rusty Smith. That doesn't even sound appropriate enough to say on this show, but you know what? I don't think they're going to go very far with Rusty Smith. I just heard that Vince Young is going to be out for the season, so it definitely won't be him starting. A lot of people thought that was going to be the case anyway with the dispute he had with Jeff Fisher last week. I don't think the Houston Texans are very good, but I think home field advantage this week is going to be enough for them. Arian Foster he's really been the bright spot for them all season. They've had a lot of collapses late in the game, but week in and week out, Arian Foster's been consistent, so I look for him to put up pretty big numbers this week against the Tennessee Titans, and the Houston Texans get a win, but I think it's going to be all for naught as they're not going to make the playoffs.
Well, like Brian said, who knows what Tennessee's going to do now? Their season is on the verge of falling apart. Vince Young's just throwing tantrums on the sidelines, and Randy Moss is probably going to be next now that he has no one to throw him the ball. As for Houston, they're on a 4-game slide right now, but if you look at it, if their games had ended 30 seconds earlier, they'd be 6-4 right now. I mean, I don't know what that says about them, if they're a good team or if they just can't hold on at the end, but I think they can pull this one out. They have a last-place pass defense, but really that's not going to matter much against Tennessee. I mean, like we said, the quarterback, we have no idea who's going to start. I don't think it's really going to affect that. I think Matt Schaub should be able to have a good game, get out on home and end this losing streak and hopefully get the Texans maybe back in chances. Maybe. Who knows?
We've been talking about how the Texans have always been so close, losing all these close games. It seems like forever they're in existence, all 8 years. They just find ways to lose games like all bad football teams do. This week, though, Rusty Smith, I think Rusty Smith can cover up all those terrible, terrible deficiencies they have in that secondary. I think Arian Foster, Matt Schaub, Andre Johnson, they were able to do some big things last week against the Jets defense in the fourth quarter. Almost won them that game. I think this week the Titans are just a complete mess. If you told me 3 weeks ago it wasn't Randy Moss who was causing all this circus, it was Vince Young, I would have kind of believed you actually, what am I saying? But I think this week, though, the Texans finally they get their win. The Titans are just a complete mess. The team's over. Texans.
As of right now, Green Bay at Atlanta. Can the second coming of Brett Favre beat the Falcons?
No, Adam, I don't think he's going to, at least not this week. Playoffs might be another story, but this week I think the home field advantage is going to be a little too much for the Green Bay Packers. I'm taking another home team this week, the Atlanta Falcons. Matt Ryan is just absolutely sensational at home. That guy is he's pretty much the epitome of a home quarterback. He struggles usually on the road, but at home he is lights out. I think he's going to have a great day against the Green Bay Packers. It might be a shootout between him and the high-flying Packers offense led by Rodgers. But with Matt Ryan at home, Michael Turner running really well, Roddy White's a great receiver. Even though the Green Bay Packers, they shut down the Minnesota Vikings completely last week, that doesn't mean much to me because Brett Favre is just completely washed up. Matt Ryan is a lot better than him at this point. Falcons win.
Well, the last couple of weeks, everyone's been talking about the Giants or the Eagles as possibly the best in the NFC. Well, I got to be honest, I think this could be very easily the battle for the best of the NFC teams right now. I think Atlanta is looking for another really big win. They've already had a couple. And I think Matt Ryan, like Brian said, is really good at home. I think he can pull this one out. The one area where I'm a little shaky about is Atlanta's pass D, which has not been that great this season. I think Aaron Rodgers could take advantage of that. However, I think that, like Brian said, they're at home. They've always been great at home. And I think they're going to pull out another big win and cement themselves as the top team in the NFC right now.
So two very similar teams, two very even teams, both sides of the ball offensively, put up lots of points, defensively do enough to hang in there. But I just like the Packers right now, what they're doing. They seem to have an edge to themselves ever since they were able to get that season-saving win over the Vikings who they just destroyed back in Lambeau last month. They've been tearing it up. They can win the shootout games. They can win the slugfest like they won against the Jets. I think Atlanta is a good team, but I just think there's a little something missing in terms of them being amongst the very best in the NFC. I think the Packers very easily could be the best in the NFC. I think even on the road, the Packers can take it this weekend.
Well, we got 2 for the Falcons, 1 for the Packers. Moving on, Miami at Oakland. Can Oakland rebound, possibly without Richard Seymour if he gets handed a suspension during the week? If they don't have the rest handed in this game, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I don't know, Adam. But all I really know about this game is whoever loses this is going to be all but out of the playoffs. These are two teams that they're on a bit of a slide. Of course, before the Steelers game last weekend, the Oakland Raiders were looking really good. They had a nice win streak going, but they got absolutely humiliated by Pittsburgh last Sunday. On the other hand, Miami Dolphins looked atrocious on Thursday Night Football against the Chicago Bears. But the one advantage of having to play Thursday on a short week, you get a lot more time to rest up, prepare for your next opponent, and that's what Miami is going to have right now, getting ready for Oakland. The new quarterback that they inserted, Tyler Thigpen, looked absolutely terrible against the Bears, but you know what? I think with all this more time to prepare, get in tune with the offense, I think he's going to have a much better day on Sunday against Oakland. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers, while they're a much better offense than Miami, they completely tore up the Raiders. They probably could have scored 50 points in that game if they wanted to. And another thing with Oakland is I don't really know who they're going to have at quarterback. Jason Campbell looked terrible against the Steelers. Maybe Bruce Gradkowski might get in there by Tom Cable. He's pretty much put in whoever he thinks has a better chance of getting them the win that particular week. So with all that uncertainty with the Raiders, I'm going to take the Dolphins in this one, but it's going to be close.
Like Brian said, this game is a must-win for both teams. Their seasons are on the line, especially for Miami, who, if they go lose another one in the AFC East, there's no way they're making the playoffs in that division. And I was sitting there trying to find reasons that they might be able to pull out this game, and I just couldn't do it. I think Oakland really, they had a bad game against the Steelers, but I think, honestly, they are the better team so far this season. They have a great pass D, and we don't even know who's going to be playing quarterback for Miami. I really don't think it's going to work out. I mean, both of these teams have had revolving doors at quarterback this season, but I just think that Oakland is the tougher team. They're going to want this one more. They're going to come in at home. And I think the key is that Brandon Marshall, he got injury too, and with Chad Henne may not be starting. I just think Miami's got too much troubles to take down the Raiders this week.
Wow, do we have to pick a winner this week? I mean, really, look at these two teams' states right now. It's pretty shocking to think that at the end of the day, one of these two teams is going to have a winning record. I'm going to go with the Raiders this week. I think the Dolphins are also in a bit of just their season's falling apart as well. The offense right now, Thigpen looked terrible. Marshall's hurt. They haven't been able to run the ball all year. They're going to Oakland, which I think is going to be a deciding factor here. Oakland always plays much harder in the black hole at home. Cross-country visit. You know the Oakland Raiders, after last week, just getting embarrassed by all sorts of measures, are going to come out firing on this one. I don't think the Dolphins have enough in them offensively to pull this one out.
If you told me last year that we'd be picking Oakland over Miami, I would not have believed you at all. Next up, Philly at Chicago. Marshall versus Reed. Well, Reed didn't show up this week after last week's debacle, so I'm going to have to go with Philly in this one. I don't know if the guys agree with me or not.
Yeah, I agree with you. Reed's not here to defend his Bears, but you know what? I don't really care after the malfunctions he caused on last week's show. So take that, Reed. But anyway, I'm taking the Eagles. I don't really think anybody here is going to take the Bears. Yes, they have a great record, but I just don't think they're that good of a team. I think the Eagles are really going to expose them this week. I think Michael Vick is just going to pretty much have his way with the Bears. Even though the Bears have a tough defense, I don't think they're going to be able to get to Vick. Vick is just so athletic. He's so dynamic. You saw it on the touchdown run he had Sunday night against the Giants. Just when you think you're going to be able to get him, he gets out of the pocket and somehow scores. I think Deshaun Jackson and Jeremy Maclin are going to have a field day against the Bears secondary. And I think Jay Cutler is going to just really be picked apart by the Eagles secondary. I don't think Jay Cutler is going to be picking them apart at all. I think they're going to be the ones getting interceptions, maybe even a pick six against him. And this is where the Bears may finally implode and go on a slide to the end of the season. And I think the Eagles win this one and really cement themselves as, without a doubt, the best team in the NFC.
Well, it says here on my sheet that Philly's playing in Chicago this week. Chicago? Who's Chicago? But in all seriousness, this is a pretty good matchup. I'll give it to Chicago. I kept counting them out, and they did come back. They have looked good. They shut out Miami last week. They have a really good defense. But it's going up against Philly's offense, which is number one in the NFL right now. And they got Michael Vick, who could be an MVP candidate. Who knows? However, I think the key in this game lies on the other side of the ball, where Chicago is 30th in overall offense. That is just terrible, and they're not going to be able to get it done against this Philly defense, which is top in the takeaways in the league. Jay Cutler is just going to be throwing picks left and right this week. Philly's just going to have a field day, and like Brian said, Chicago's season might be over after this. Sorry, Reed.
Usually when someone says no one's going to pick a team, I'm right there to pick that team. But this week, I can't pick the Bears. I mean, I look at them all year. They really still have not won a big game. What have they proven? They've been soft teams all year. Their record's inflated. I think at the end of the day, we'll be saying the Bears are who we thought they were. They're not very. I just don't think they're very good right now. The Eagles, though, firing on all cylinders. The key in this game will not be the Vic versus the Bears defense like they'll focus all week in the media. The key will be on the other side of the ball, like Marshall said, Jay Cutler versus that Eagles defense. Jay Cutler is an interception machine. He's an interception waiting to happen. Call him whatever you want. The Eagles will feast on that. They took apart Eli Manning and that Giants offense last week. That came into the game averaging over 400 yards of offense. I don't see how the Bears can win this one even at home. I'm sorry.